It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness.
Guess who's back? Back again. Mitchie's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Da, 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 da. That's right, folks. The Hitting Zone podcast is back. That's a special shout out to our engineers. He asked me to do that this morning. I thought, why not? That was a great way to reintroduce myself. My name is Humpty, spelled with an umpty. I'm just kidding. This is what happens when you take like 2 months off of your podcast. You come back all fired up.
Yeah.
And what a great way to reintroduce the Hitting Zone podcast. That's where we grab topics that are in our community, and we basically crush those topics.
Should have brought a box of cards to bust while we were talking too. That'd been fun.
Well, the pace of this show is probably going to be a little different for a box of baseball cards because the box of baseball card's going to, slow
Could
it
have
down
kept
a
it
little bit.
calm.
It's going to have to be because we have a topic today that is relatively new. Brian's going to be my first co-host back. We will have some co-hosts, I think. I haven't planned for it really, but we'll work on it. So if you want to get on the show, holler at your boy.
I'm going relax mode.
Perfect, because I'm amped up, so I need my yang or ying. I'm not sure which one he is. Maybe he's going to be neither, but
Neither.
I know that he probably doesn't actually believe that stuff.
No.
That's a Star Wars reference, I guess.
Yes.
But anyways, Brian,
Yeah.
thank you for joining me on the reintroduction of the Hitting Zone podcast.
Absolutely, Brew.
This is something that's been brewing, as you will, for me for the last couple of days, last week or so.
Well, we've been out on it. I guess I ought to come up here so you can see me. We can talk at each other like human beings.
I'll just yell at the microphone.
We've been out, like you said, we've been out roaming around the countryside, calling baseball games, watching baseball games, whether it be, elementary age, middle school, or high school ages, and it's winding down. Everything's coming to its place. We got high school playoffs coming. We're winding up. We're basically, it's Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, it feels like we just, discussed our preseason stuff. And here we are talking about districts and potentially postseason opportunities for this team. And it starts late February, early March. And here we are about to wrap up the high school season. And there's some exciting baseball that we're going to see. We got Game 7.
Yeah.
Still got
Next
some
week.
tournaments. Yep. Game7baseball.com. 5:30 is going to be a big one.
I like this because, the topic here that you got today, which I think is interesting, next, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we got 28 14U teams that we're going to be hosting, talking to, seeing play ball, still in the middle basically of the season.
Yeah, I'm one of 28, so I'm excited. We've played well the last couple of tournaments, so I'm hoping to compete well. I think my pitchers will do well. I have to teach them how to win. We've seen that a few times over the last couple district games, in Class 4 games, that it takes a minute to learn how to win. And so that's what we're trying to do over the next couple weeks is learn how to win. But I'm excited for all the things that are happening. You got Legion Baseball coming up for you that you'll have games on, and the 100 years of Legion. Make sure that you follow that. If you're my age, because Legion was important back when we played, and you were that guy. If you had the opportunity to play Legion baseball in this area, Prime Sports Midwest, 3 locations now, right?
What? Stop it. Get out of town.
Yeah. Well, they're not. They're all in town. So whatever town you're in, they probably have a Prime Sports Midwest. They have one in Chesterfield, one in Mid Rivers, or St. Charles County, and then one down there in Fenton, which is the original location. I
Yes,
do not
you do.
know the addresses to all. I think one's 1550 Ocello Drive. That's in Fenton.
That's the main one.
That's the main. That's the big dog. The other 7505 is Mexico Road.
It's
The
in
one
the-
in Chesterfield
it's
is
in
in the outlet mall.
Outlets.
The ones with Nike and Adidas, probably shouldn't have gave them a plug there, but that's the mall that they're in. So, Brian, the topic that I would like to discuss, discuss.
You can tell
That's
he's
my
amped
rap
up,
skills kicking in, but
right?
I wanted to talk about tryouts. And the other day you made a comment to me. I think we were out at Lindbergh. If you haven't seen that game, go check it out.
That was a fun game.
That was an awesome game. Big time homer. First time we've seen 3 homers in a game. But anyways, you had said in that game, you go, sometimes opinions are they're emotional.
I
And
believe they are. I think opinions are usually just emotion in a moment that people explode and everybody goes. And that's why we have the old saying, you know what opinions are like. And everybody's got one.
I have one today. It is emotional for me because it does drive me a little bit bonkers. I'm going to give you my why, and it give you some solutions because that's what we like to do.
Now we're getting into but now the thing of it is, and I think that happens, but the thing of it is, you've thought about it now for a while.
Oh yeah,
It didn't just go out and you go, and that's what normally happens, and it becomes a rant, and that's somebody's opinion. This is you've in my estimation, and we've talked about this. You brought it up, and you're like, man, it just But then you've sat and thought about it through. And now what you just said. Now I want to talk about why this is, some solutions, what are we doing, and how we move forward. Now it's thought process, and it's no longer just an opinion. This is what I think. You have a thought on the subject, and it becomes, should this be something that we move towards?
yeah, because I think that happens all the time. It's like the emotional driver. Like I wanted to post right away, and I obviously didn't do that.
Which I think is good.
I've learned. I hinted enough, I'm sure, that this was going to be a topic of choice for me. But again, just the reason why I brought up the opinions is because that is mine. It is not a representation of the show.
Or its supporters.
Whatever
the case may be.
This is my view. You want to come at me, you can come at me.
Hitting Zone Podcast, baby.
That's it.
Crushing topics.
And this is a topic I think that is important, and this is on all facets. It can be from the organizational side, the small club side, to the parent side, to the athlete side, and I really want to talk about it. And
Because I have some thoughts on it too after we've discussed, because I've thought about it. I think it's an interesting topic. It's a great topic, and I think these are some of the things we have to address, but are we willing to address them?
well, we're going to do it today. So
No, I mean in a real way.
We're gonna
You're going to
start.
bring the things, and let's see what happens.
this is a square table that would like to eventually make it round, and we can all sit down and have a very good conversation on some sort of solution. Again, going back to the tryouts and tryout season, when does it start? We've already seen 4 or 5 clubs, teams start posting tryouts. Some start at the end of this month. May, which we're only halfway through the season,
don't
which
even
is just
understand
crazy
that.
to me. And then early June, and we still have a ton of baseball left, and kind of what does that mean, and what are the perceptions of these clubs doing such? Where it starts for me, to be blunt as I can be, in fairness too, is what does it say to our families that have invested into us, and what kind of information are we returning to them? We've already collected all their dollars. One of the things I can't stand as a club owner is everybody tells me this is a money grab. I made way more money being an underwriter for a bank than I do being a owner of a facility. I pour a lot of time into this. I pour a lot of time into the kids, and maybe that's unique for me. So I'm giving a unique background of what I do. I train all of our athletes. I just don't hire people. So I'm invested into my club differently maybe than others. But again, I want to find out, why are we posting now? So of course I've asked questions and there's been some great details, but I would love to find a solution so that we can all agree. The largest clubs probably need to dictate this, but can we create a date that we can start posting specifically on your own page, and then a date that we can start posting on social media groups pages, and then start hosting tryouts? It drives me bonkers, to say the least, Brian, that we are offering tryouts right now for teams that have 11 or 12 players on them, and you're asking for tryouts and somebody on that team's getting cut. They've just paid you thousands of dollars. You spent all this time with them. I understand kids get cut. There's people that don't like me that play for me. That's fine. That it's not my ideal athlete probably anyways. It has to be a special one to deal with how I coach. So be it, fine. I'll probably cut a kid this year. They're probably going to want to leave on their own. That's natural attrition, if you will. Not saying that stuff doesn't happen, but what is this desire to already be posting tryouts?
Let me do this while you've been talking. I've looked up 3 major tournament providers in the country. Okay. Looking at World Series, because that's the big one usually at the end, and World Series, okay, whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, I know we'll be at it. We'll be there because we've done this with Game 7 baseball since 2017. The World Series for Game 7 baseball starts on the 26th and goes through the end of that weekend right there through the first part, I think it ends on the 29th.
Yep.
Okay, of June.
We're in it, so I know.
Yeah. Another major group, AA World Series at 8 through 14U, July 9 through 13. Okay?
That's a multi-day event.
Then we have this particular group. I'm not going to just throw them out there, but here's a 10U major National World Series, June 5 through 10. 11U major, June 12 through 17, June 18 through 22 for 13U, 9U and 12U, June 19 through 24, 8U, kid pitch, June 25 through 29, along with 15U, June 29. The big events aren't till the end of June. I'm not quite sure. And then you get into July, and then it becomes a lot more of the 15, 16, 17, a lot of the bigger, because that's when a lot of the parents are starting to take vacations, because the kids in 6 weeks are going back to school.
Yep.
In August, mid-August. And I understand that. And there'll be some scatterings of tournaments and things like that. And that's cool. But that's usually when the baseball season is over. I'm not quite sure why we're having tryouts in May when teams are still playing. What is that thought process? That cannot, and what does that do to a kid on the team that's currently playing? I thought this was about development. Well, that kid definitely isn't good enough because we're already having tryouts in May. I mean, the whole thought process then goes, what about development? We haven't even finished the season and you're giving up on some kids already, evidently.
That's what it feels like. That is the message that I get from doing that. You've already given up on the kids that you've committed to and have their money, and you don't care. And listen, I know that we invest in these people. I am sure that the last kid on your roster that you're ready to part ways with, I'm sure you have some sort of emotional attachment to that young person. You just don't. Even if you don't like the kid or like the family, there's still that plays. And what's the conversations now? Did you go to your families and say, hey, we're having tryouts in May, and then immediately start fielding phone calls? Is that what you want to do right now at this time of the year?
And how many kids are coming to these tryouts? From other teams. What are you getting? Are you getting disgruntled parents from another team?
I'm sure that's the case. I would. I mean, having conversations with parents about this, with other organizations, because I am asking questions because it bothers me so much.
Yeah.
Parents have said that. It's like, listen, we are in a position where we want to move on. So having early tryouts benefits them. That's one person. That's maybe a very, very small percentage of the group. That is only one intention, and that's the parents' intentions and that kid. It's not the whole aspect of the community of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I again, it's got to go back to, what are we doing? Just literally, what are we doing?
And okay,
And that's the hardest question that they can't give me. It's one thing.
so this goes back to, I think, structuring, the whole conversation. Club baseball is terrible, whatnot. No, it's not. Club baseball is club baseball, and it's, you don't have. We're not. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You don't put the toothpaste. It's squeezed and it's forever squeezed. Okay. So, but as responsible adults in the room, and I'll be honest, and I think this is the tough thing sometimes when you look back, you go, wow, you're talking about certain things, and I know I made a bad decision here in my own. I always look at myself first and foremost. I always have. I've always looked at, when we're talking about these subjects, I know that there have been times where I've probably, and I know I have, I've looked at it and I've gone, oh, that was not the thing to do, but you can only learn from it and move forward. And I had conversations with my son as we move forward and what we did and how we progressed from there. So that's the best anybody can do. But the one thing that I think is at the crux of this, okay? And I don't think this is not an opinion. I believe this is the reality of it. And because of club baseball, people are paying to play. They believe that they're paying these clubs to play on these teams. And when that thought process changed over, that's what this has created, Mitch. And no longer, we all use the development word, but that's the small percentage of most of these teams' goals. My kid I'm paying him. This is why you only see 10 kids on a roster.
Oh, and this is where I wanted to go with this. It's
right?
A great lead in. And is that the reason why we have the tryouts now?
Absolutely.
Because they need 12 kids on a roster, because they have 120 kids at the 10. I'm exaggerating some of these numbers for being a smart aleck, but it could be true. I don't know. I don't go to everybody's email or websites and see how many 9U teams or 10U teams they have. But if you have 10 teams and you need 120 kids, and your last team in there only has 9, and you're chasing 3 guys, don't have tryouts. Just make a post that says you need 3 guys. Instead, you're telling them about tryouts. Well, what are the tryouts for? Are the tryouts because you're developing all those kids that they're moving up? So, the kids that had 10 rosters at their highest level team, or there are 2 kids being moved up and you're just trying to recycle? And if that's the case, why don't you just drop a team and make all your teams better? And you don't.
Depth. Where's the depth?
We don't need to have 10 teams in there of 10 kids. You need 10 teams of 12 kids. So I think I understand what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But then again, where it comes back for me and perception wise is now we're a money grab, because all you're wanting. I'm only saying that because of the volume of teams, our players on the team. If they were to cut those kids and they had 12 kids on there, I don't think that they would be having tryouts right now.
All right.
I don't think they would be chasing it.
I don't know. I understand. And this is where I personally don't like the terminology money grab.
I don't like it either.
Because I think it becomes, and to your point though, no. And I think we have to be careful when we start talking, because that's always the perception, right? They're just in it for the money.
It takes some money, a lot of it.
Do you know what it costs to build that building? To rent that, you do, to rent that facility, to put the cages up, to put the turf down, to heat it, to cool it, to staff it, to bring in quality instructors, to bring in coaches, to put all this together. it's funny because we do a lot with American Legion Baseball. And I watched the old system, and that is the old system of volunteer coaches. And there are very few left. And not because I don't think that guys wouldn't volunteer their time, but in our day and age, just look at the economy. Everything costs more, everything. Can you afford just to volunteer your time and put yourself in that place? Your wife's working. I got to get my kids here. My kids are playing, whatnot. It becomes a very difficult proposition. And I think those are the realities of what we're dealing with. So to say that these clubs are just, are there people that probably do certain things for nefarious reasons? Possibly, yeah. I'm not discounting that. But I think on the whole, in general, most of these places, you want a facility to work out in?
This is why I use that money grab loosely, because
Right.
I'm only saying this in the perception of what I think this is doing for other people. Because I'm in the business, I know how difficult it can be. And I am by no means am I taking shots at any of the big clubs.
No, I know
and
you're
what
not.
They,
I know
and
you're
what
not.
they do, because that's their model.
It just
And it does work for them, but that's what they're giving. They're giving.
You know where all these independent teams are working out?
Well, they get to work out in places like my place. So
Where these clubs have built facilities.
well, and it is, because without that, there's not a space for them,
No.
and then they're waiting, and so we are getting recreational baseball athletes better because we do have the space for them. But getting back to this, you just talked about hiring staff. You're
Yeah.
giving 16-year-old kids opportunities to have their first jobs in a sport, or maybe an experience that they like, so that they'll enjoy it better. You're giving coaches opportunity. You're giving young coaches opportunities. You're giving so much more. So I don't like it when money grab's being used, because it is not really a money grab. I know when you see 85 teams on a link, you probably go, that's a money grab. No, those are families that desired to go there and play, so there was a need for that. You chose to go there. And so in my opinion, I don't think that's fair to say that a large organization's a money grab.
Yeah, I just maybe, but I don't think anybody's setting out to just steal your money. Or
I
take your
guarantee
money
they don't have millions left over at the end of each year to line their pockets. If you did, you would see everybody driving something better than a Ford F-150. You know what I mean? And most of these guys are driving Ford F-150s. Yes, there is massive dollars being spent and brought in, and it is a big time revenue
It's an
generator. 100%. Like I'm not going to sleep on that, but we don't need to. I think where I get lost in this is, as a public, I'm trying to change the eye of what this industry is.
Agreed.
And we're not going to be able to do that if we're trying to outdo one another because of fear of missing out on 10 players.
Let me ask you this. So why do these handful of coaches, teams, whatnot, because I don't think it's the entire club, right?
No, I think there's people inside the club that don't like that the club. Are you talking about tryouts and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Phil?
the tryouts that you've seen.
They look at them and they go, oh, no, not yet.
Yeah.
I think that happens, but then the directors and leaders all get it from, the majority says, well, we need to fill these rosters. So if they're already hosting tryouts, we got to do it so that we don't miss out on players and make this team whatever.
And I think this goes to this, and this is where the thing, I believe this is at the crux of all of it. Development. I had to do the air quotes, because I think that's exactly the way it is. It's silliness, because I think that is what is problematic at best. I want to ask you a question, because this is where tryouts, why tryouts? Why are you trying out kids?
I hate them.
Okay. Because let's look at this.
Excuse me. I don't hate the kids.
No.
I said that and I was like, well, wait a minute. Let me think about
Be careful.
Tryouts to me,
Mm-hmm.
I
don't think it's a bad thing. But tryouts at the youth level.
They have to happen, because I do think that time sometimes, ships sail. So I don't think that every player is for every coach. I don't think that the relationships sometimes that are driven in youth sports, I think they need to be separated. So I do think that there's value in that. But why take a 10-year-old kid that may be just a little bit behind? Because I'm talking about the majority too.
Exactly.
I am not talking about the higher level kids that have matured a little bit better, that throw the ball harder than somebody else, and they're elite, if you will. I am talking about the majority of baseball kids are all the same. If we are truly developing, take that kid, and especially if they're a good family, and run. Just go with it, because by the time they hit high school, they could be completely different.
That's the point, right? Okay, so you have 80% of all elementary, middle school baseball players are in desperate need of development.
Desperate need, because those 80% are not making it to high school and playing baseball.
The other 20%, and that's where I think this is why when you look around the landscape, and folks, we see it every weekend. We're there. I see it. There's only 20% that I believe, what you call AAA major.
Maybe, if that.
Right?
Maybe.
So what are we doing? Our market really in development is in that 80%. Because if you look at that 80%, those are the kids that are going to help your high school baseball team. They're the kids that are the ones that need that work to get to make their high school baseball team, because you will get cut. And then you've got certain high school teams that are just juggernauts, and they're there, and it is what it is. But if you get to high school and because you're not maturing physically as fast as maybe another kid, can I throw 78 to 82 and really understand what it means to pitch? Can I put the ball in play? Can I hit a line drive in gaps? Do I understand what base running is about? Do I know where to go on the diamond? Do I understand cutoffs? Do I understand how to play the game the right way? And that is where the 80%, instead of really working this with this 80%, taking a group of kids, we've got them here in that age group. This is what we have. We try out, well, here, come on out. All right. So what group? And this is where parents, no, my kid's paying to play. That's where I believe the biggest thing has to change, is in the parent mentality. And I've been guilty of this at times, I know. And I think this is where you look back, if you were, you go back and you go, could we have done these things a bit better? I could have, yeah. But do you have that mentality to where you will do you trust the people around you enough? Do you have that group of kids, a group of parents that trust the process? I had this conversation, we were talking about this with Brett Graves. Go check out the podcast, please. I know I'm plugging it, but I really
it's a show that I love. So
we were having that conversation. Well, what's the process, Mitch?
Well, you're supposed to have one. I mean, I can give you a long laundry list of hours I've put into building the process.
How many parents really understand that and will allow that? And if you're going to invest the money, invest in the development process and allow the game just to be fun, and watch your kids, see if they're growing and developing, and then have the conversation with the folks that are supposed to be developing people. And if they're not, but give them the opportunity to do so. One season doesn't make it. And the kid is out there said, I'm upset because I don't get. Understand that you might not get to play if you're not developing like you should. Understand this is the reality of it. And we've created this fantasy of baseball rather than the reality of it. Go compete in a tournament. Learn how to compete. If you're going 0-2 this year, in pool play, can I get to 1-1 the next one, or in 2 weeks? What's the goals? How are we setting goals? How are we putting ourselves? And I think, this is what I think is masking that, is these tryouts. Well, we're going to get tryouts. We're going to get better kids. No, you're just masking the issue.
You look at I like what you just said, and I wanted to go somewhere else, but the topic.
I'm sorry.
No. In that conversation, I had something in my mind I wanted to talk about. I'll probably forget, but the statement you just made on building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things with development is time, and we have so many people that don't invest time. So if you're not investing time over dollars, you're not going to get the development you want. You're not going to get the results. I said it a long time ago. It was one of my trending reels, if you will, that you can't practice 1 or 2 times a week and expect to make high school baseball.
No.
And practice doesn't mean go out and hit a baseball every time or throw a baseball every time. It's not always just that. It is all of the things that encompass being a great athlete.
Yeah.
Building blocks, right? I started the fall. We were 0-3. We gave up 48 runs. We scored 4. I said all off season, we have got to focus on pitching and defense. I didn't give a crap about hitting. We still can't hit. And I'm a hitting guy, the Hitting Zone podcast. We go out and we learn how to throw strikes.
Right.
Compete in the strike zone. We play defense. We do our thing. We started the season 0-3. Frustrated as all get out. Again, scored some more runs, gave up less runs, need to do things better. We came out, had 2 weeks off, we went to work. But we built a program for a plan. Let's win one pool game. We went out and won one pool game, gave us the confidence. We went 1-2. The next weekend we went out and went 2-0 in pool play and got the 1 seed.
Right.
I didn't think we were going to do that because we ended up beating the championship team of that in pool play. Maybe obvious reasons because they threw off, whatever the case may be. It's pool play. Everybody makes bracket. And we went 2-1. Then we go out 2 weeks later, say we still have to build a plan. What's the next goal? The next goal wasn't to win the tournament. It was to play through anxieties and things that happen in the game to overcome them. So it was learning how to try to win ball games, close out ball games. All of a sudden, we were playing close ball games.
And this is a 14U squad, which is necessary.
Have to, because that's what high school is, and high school is super hard. Most of these kids will make their high school freshman teams. I don't know after that because varsity levels, they're all the higher level
GAC
kids,
squads,
especially because we were in St. Charles County. And so we went out there, and every game was about building on something we did the prior game. Okay, we did this well. Let's continue to do this well. Let's try to do it better. Whether it was between the ears, it was talk, effort, it didn't matter. It had nothing to do with winning. A byproduct of that was winning baseball games. When we got into the championship game, we didn't have enough. We made a few mistakes. The mentality changed. We thought we sucked after we struck out, didn't get the big RBI or made a mistake, which we were leading in that game 2-0. We didn't know how to win. I was frustrated because the kids were so mad about the mistakes they made. I'm like, we just won every single thing that we tried to achieve this weekend. We won everything. Everything but the tournament. And what can we be mad about? It's so result driven.
yes,
And
and that's okay. But what is the result you were looking for? You reached the result you were looking for. The winning part, the beating the team on the other side, that is a process that it still may not achieving certain success within a weekend and the success level that you wanted, you get there. But that doesn't always guarantee you a win on the ball field.
It don't. And what does the win actually mean other than feeling good, which trust me, guys, I hate.
I think winning,
losing.
That's the goal, right?
I don't do this. This is what drives me bonkers about telling, you call me up and say, my coach cut my kid because he's a fat kid or he's a short kid or he's too this, he's too that. He's got ADD and all these things. I go, no, your kid doesn't love baseball because they don't put the time into baseball. That's why your kid gets cut because he's not athletic. Big guy. I hit tanks. I could still hit baseballs hard. I'm sorry. Weight's not a problem. I'm 330. I stepped on the scale the other day. I did have clothes on, so I might be like 325 without clothes on. So whatever. If I hold on to the doorknob, I'm a little bit lighter. But I hope you understand what I'm getting at. It's like the process is what we win. Winning that tournament doesn't solidify our team. how we played the games, and the greatest thing I got from that team that beat us, that was they're down in Nixa area. They came up from the Springfield area.
Southwest Missouri Rebels.
Yep. And I had told a kid who was sitting on the bench, he's sitting next to me, I said, baseball is a game of moments, right? And he's like, dude, that's the greatest thing I ever heard. They just talked about it with Whitey Herzog on a show the other day. And I'm like, well, is it not that? It just these individual moments, and then all these things happen, and then wins happen, right? It's just a byproduct of it all. That coach said to me, he goes, I'm happy we got to play your team. You have a group of good kids. I wish you luck. I hope that these kids can understand what they have. Yeah. And I'm not trying to pat my chest like I'm some king coach. I'm trying to get them to understand how hard the game is, to give themselves grace, and let's go out together and play this game and not individually.
We've had this conversation many moons ago. You know, what I believe about winning. Winning is it's the result you want at the end of a baseball game is what everybody wants. You want to score, as far as baseball is concerned, more runs than the other team. Mm-hmm. But how do you achieve that? That's what we don't think about. And people go, well, you know, we're just going to hit. Yeah, but you don't know how to hit. You're striking out all the time. You don't, well, you just made 10 errors. And I'm not talking just physical errors. You didn't know where to throw the baseball. You're missing cutoff men. You don't know how to double cut. The pitcher's standing in the middle of the field and cuts a baseball off when the catcher's going, why'd you do that? Because he's in the wrong place. And the first baseman's standing over here watching. Well, then buy a ticket. These are the things.
My favorite, by the way.
Exactly. Go buy a ticket. If you want to watch the game, go buy a ticket. Otherwise, play the game. Be involved. Get your mind. And this is where we do not. That's where it all starts right here. Are you invested mentally in the game and ready to play and understand what you have to do to put yourself in that position? And you know what? You still may end up on the wrong side of the scoreboard. For instance,
you will end up on the wrong side of that scoreboard.
Best team, you know, at the beginning of the year, people were saying best team in baseball. I'm watching the Dodgers right now. They've lost 4 in a row.
You know who the best team in baseball is, don't you?
I think it's the Padres.
Detroit Tigers,
who just got beat by the St. Louis Cardinals.
Who our fans dislike because probably the same reasons why we have problems in youth sports. But that's a whole nother topic.
But see, this is the thing. But it's the point, right? Here you go. Best team in baseball. They score more runs. We go, well, who's better? Well, I don't know.
We're going to find out tonight because Tarek Skubel's going for Detroit. And he's going against Fetty. But I love what you're getting at because, again, the Dodgers had spent so much money. And you don't know what a team's going through any given week. They could be dealing with some problems.
Injuries.
And that's what they're, look at the Baltimore Orioles. That's a team that everybody's excited about. They got like 15 wins or something like that on the season, not playing very good baseball. And they got some of the most fun to watch young people. Jackson Holiday, obviously, a lot of our fans.
They're trusting that development long term.
They have to go through it. The Texas Rangers, just a few years ago, when they got Bruce Bochy, they one of the worst in the AL West. Then they come back and win the World Series the next year. They went from one of the worst teams in baseball to the best team in baseball in one calendar season. How does that happen? And you talk about it. It's doing the small things the right way. So if you got a coach that's just chasing wins, that doesn't mean, and that's probably why we're having tryouts now, but that doesn't mean that kid is going to be a high-level high school kid. Now, you would like to think that because they are that good right now.
But that doesn't translate always.
It doesn't, because at 14, the game starts to even out, especially at the high school levels. There's a reason why we don't have AAA level and AA level in high school. You play high school baseball.
Yeah.
When you get
You
into
have the
summer.
classes, but that's only based on the amount of students you have.
Oh yeah, that's high school.
To choose
like
from.
literally high school baseball. I'm talking about high school summer baseball.
Oh,
When you play in the summer, you don't have AA.
Oh, no.
Everybody pays $1,500 to go play an event.
Go out and get your behindy whipped.
Well, you better learn how to play baseball because, again, I think it's what I love when I'm whatever. I've been sharing a lot of my old videos lately, and what I loved playing most with my Spikes guys is everybody knew how to play baseball. Hand gestures, communication, they were pre-pitch stuff, talking to the second baseman, letting the outfielders know what they're doing, helping our catchers out, pointing to fly balls, whatever the case may be. We did the very smallest things right because we had to. We were not the most athletic guys. Trust me, I played in it. And somehow I got 10 stolen bases a year. Why? We weren't paying attention. I took advantage of situations. If you're not smart enough, you're not going to do that.
Right.
And so what are we developing? Are we really just, hey, we're going to go here, and here because we beat everybody in St. Louis? Great. What is high school level going to be like? And trust me, I hope every one of those kids who are that good are guys that we are covering at the high school level. I hope that they're doing everything that they need to be the best. And I'm sure some of these teams will be that. But for the large percentage, you are way behind. You don't have time. It doesn't matter if you're 11 or 12 years old. If you're telling me that, let my kid have fun, let him wear all the swag and stuff like that, go have fun at a different level. And that can happen. We need to separate the two, in my opinion. You can go have fun and play recreational baseball. You can go have fun and play Legion baseball. And I think high school level organizations are losing kids to high school or to Legion baseball because of the nonsense they've experienced in youth sports.
Yeah.
And hats off to Legion for being available to high school teams because our high school athletes, because age athletes, we don't have nothing for them. So I just this is an evaluation of 20 plus years coaching.
To your point, though, is May tryouts your solution?
No.
See, that
absolutely not.
And at the end of the day, that's got to be the thought. You got to understand, May tryouts are not your solution.
Well, what are they already doing? They already know the kids that they're going to bring to their organization. They've already talked to them. The parents that are unhappy on another team have already contacted that group. What are you going to do next year? That stuff's already happening. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't care what you do. My job as a coach is to try to do the best that I can so you do not leave. Mm-hmm. That's what my job is. If you decide to leave, see you later, bud. I'm not going to see you at the ball field and do one of these numbers. That's childish.
And this is where, the rancor within elementary, middle school baseball, it's all youth baseball. It cracks me up when I see on some of these tournament sites, there's youth baseball, and then, high school kids are youths. That's why it's youth baseball. And I love what Kevin Mulder says about that. He says that's why they call it boys baseball in high school and men's baseball in college. Because they're still youths.
There's something about playing college baseball. When you go in as a freshman and you're this scrawny 165, and you look at everybody else and go, ooh, here's
that pitcher on the mound is 6'4", 220.
I'll give you this. This is a good one. I haven't talked about this just yet. So we just had a kid leave, and he went to an NAIA school. And the coach was like, hey, you got a shot to play as a freshman,
mm-hmm.
but this is what you're going to have to do.
Right.
Didn't take it so serious. Now, still a good ball player.
Mm-hmm.
Did not make the varsity roster. Did not do enough, and he worked out a little. In his eyes, he thought it was a lot. Worked out a little. He walked into campus, and a guy that's also 5'8", 5'9", looks at him and goes, wow, that kid's 190. I'm 155. His coach, literally, he asked his coach, what can I do this summer to, put myself in position to be a guy that you want on the varsity roster? Not anymore trying to start, but what can I do to make the varsity roster 30 pounds? You know how hard it is to gain 30 pounds?
Dude,
You're not going to gain 30 pounds. So you know what that means? You're going to wait till he's 20 years old
Yes.
to get a chance to play. This is probably why you see a large percentage going to the junior college route. But all of a sudden, you go to these next levels, and we're talking low percentages of players even moving on to high school. Like we talked about the 80-20 thing. I bet only 20% of our middle school baseball actually plays high school baseball. But college baseball, everybody is good. You do have crappy teams out there. I understand that. That's where a place that you can, if you're not a great player, that's where you go. Find the teams that are 5-30. That's where you're going to end up. If you want to be on a 500 ball club, you better put in your work at 12 years old.
When that goes up to that level, you think, oh, they're a crap. No, there are teams that just execute better, play better on a consistent basis. And this is the thing about development. Parents, quit looking for, they're May. I'm going to go try out for them. Hey, coach, can we get in? Find a coach, find a place that will help you develop. You have camps. Other clubs have camps. Find coaches that are quality to go to camps, learn how, do those things, invest in that type of thought process.
Compete.
Stick with the team, find a group of kids, find a group of parents, find a coach that is willing to work with the kids to develop them. De-emphasize the single game success to the quality of success within the game, you as a player, and you will see the progression of wins begin to stop. Don't worry about winning every tournament at 10U. If you win one, great. If you don't, okay. Continue to trust that process of development. Find those people that will help those kids understand how to play the game more consistently. If you can find consistency breeds success.
Man, I'm telling you, that's gold. You take a short of this, Mr. Crack Engineer over there, because 100%. You don't. The key is you could be 10 years old and the desire to win every tournament can be there, but your development to win that game, how do you win those games? You do all of the things that you just talked about.
Yes.
And you will win. You don't go out there and win without actually trying to coach the game up.
That kid throws 80 miles an hour at 12. Yeah, but he's killed 3 kids and put holes in the backstop. I mean, I'm sorry that I'm tired of that conversation. I really am. We all understand that velocity plays. Okay?
It's exciting.
And it's fine. I have no problem with that. I get it. But that shouldn't be. Okay, so he does. But let's teach him how to pitch.
Well, because he's going to go to college. I'll backtrack. He'll go to high school and pitch because he can't.
Can he grow into that 80 miles an hour? He's got to learn how to find his way through that and physically be able to do that and let that growth come naturally to that, learning how to pitch. And then when he can throw strikes and it's 80 miles an hour, now you've got something.
Love it, man. I love it. Getting back to the topic of this conversation, which was tryouts. Folks, I understand these are things that we want to do, but we've got to come together as a group. I don't know that I'm in a place that I need to mediate that. We probably have to get some outside help, but can we sit together and agree? I know there's egos involved. I know that somebody thinks their ish don't stink, but I need to get together with everybody and let's just build a plan for the betterment of our athletes and community. Has nothing to do with your pocketbooks. That's my goal. I would love to see it. I don't know how it happens. If somebody can comment how, would be willing to help, I think it has to be a third party.
But I think I don't believe that.
No?
I honestly don't. No, because there's people out there trying to set up a governing body right now. I think it's nonsense. Be adults. We can make decisions. Will the clubs look at a team like that and go, look, no, we're not putting out in May. Stop that. Let your team finish out. It's up to the club's leadership to look at that team because it's individual teams putting these out. I know it is.
Well,
It's not club wide.
4 of them, it's been the big clubs.
It has.
Yeah.
Then stop. Be more responsible. If we shouldn't be doing tryouts in June with the rest of the season still going. I love the clubs. I think we have to be more responsible to the kids. What are we doing? You don't need a tryout in May. You don't. Well, we've got to get ahead. And it's like you said, if that's the case, I think we need to reassess what we're doing and why we're doing it.
I like that. Why are we doing it? Because at the end of the day, like my why is for these young people and the impacts I can have probably 20 years down the road. And I still one of the greatest accomplishments that I have is people who refer to me as coach that are now adults. I get invited to their weddings. I get invited to baby showers, or my family does. Those things matter way more than any victory I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that I would spend more time trying to make my team better than worrying about my 3 weeks leading up to high school tryouts or tryouts in general. Tryouts are not fun. They're not fun for any coach. If you have to get a few kids, you're probably already having those conversations, or people have reached out to you because they like the way that you go about your business. But at the end of the day, I'm with you. Make sure that I don't know what the plan is. I didn't want a governing body. That's for sure.
No.
But how can we get together and just agree?
Have a conversation. I think that's okay. I think that,
How does that happen?
But will people do? And I think, because here, Youth Baseball Midwest, I don't mind saying these things. I don't. It's not a matter that I think they're terrible people for doing it, or, oh my gosh, you can't do it.
I don't think that
this
either.
Money, nonsense. It's just a thought. This is what I believe. And as much as, they can tell me, like, stick it, we're going to do what we do. That's up to them. In the end,
that's what's going to happen either way.
But I think that it's perpetuating all the negative stuff within this with parents. And then we say parents are crazy, they don't listen to us. Well, then what? I think there's a reason for that as well. Because then you're not developing my son. Well, because you haven't because that kid is not as athletic as this kid. Well, they get pushed down here and they're just in this team, and nobody cares to really work with those kids.
Yeah, a bunch of people
because in the end, is that kid going to put my club on the map? You've got plenty of kids in your pipeline that are going to put you on the map and do. And I've seen kids that are on the map on the big boards and putting up numbers and this and that, and go and watch them in a game, and the numbers ain't there. It ain't translating.
Who's on the big boards anyways, typically?
So that's
older kids, and not
exactly.
even youth.
And so they go to the high school game. It's still got to translate to the baseball diamond, or it really doesn't matter. And so I don't care what the board says. Who are the kids that are producing? And that's what I want to see. And so we have this 10-year-old. He's skinny and whatnot. Maybe he ends up. How are we teaching him to love the game, enjoy the game, play the game properly, and enjoy the experience if you got him in your club? Are we developing that kid to play for high school baseball and get to that place where he's going to be a contributor for his high school baseball team, enjoy his career, and if he gets an opportunity to play beyond that, fantastic.
Fantastic. I did a post the other day and said the best advice that I can give you. I got 2 things, and you can't do these. You can't be good at these things or baseball if you don't do these 2 things, which was throw the baseball at your target, hit your target, and then catch the baseball. If you can't play a simple game of pitch and catch with intent, with purpose, this game is going to pass you by no matter what. So you can be 140 pounds, you can be 210 pounds. If you can't throw the ball, catch the ball, you should not play this game of baseball, period. Focus on that as a youth guy, especially your younger ages, your grade school levels. Go outside, play catch, play a game of 21. If you don't know what it is, Google it, and catch it. Do whatever you can to catch it. So if it's in the dirt, knock it down. Find a way, and watch just how the game soars for you. And I think that's where it's got to start. And we're like, let's focus on wins. They get to the next level, they can't pitch and catch. You can throw 80, but you can't, you're putting holes in the fence, like you said. It doesn't help nobody. You're not going to get your playing time. Anyways, it's glad, good. Glad. That's a new one. We're glad to be back. Good to have. That was a turtle or something. What was
Turkey, right?
Turkey.
That works for you, baby.
I am a turkey.
No, you're a turkey hunter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm more of a turkey than a turkey hunter. But anyways, welcome back, folks. Glad to be back. Excited for what we're going to bring to the show. This was a good topic to start off with as it just kind of approaches us. Folks, go out there and have as much fun as you possibly can because parents, time will fly. And if you're not having fun, it's going to pass you by and you're going to miss opportunities. So, Brian, thank you for joining me back
thanks,
on
bud. I appreciate
the first show back. Great topic. We'll see you next week. And a little shout out to everybody that is our sponsors, Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com, obviously Youth Baseball Midwest. But you need to go to their YouTube page, type it into Google, go right to YouTube, type it in, subscribe, top right corner, I think it is.
Yeah, you're here right now too, right?
Yeah, right, somewhere. Where's it at?
Right down below.
Right here. Got it. Right there. I won't touch the microphone with that finger.
He's got boogers on his finger, man.
I did trim my nose hair, so we're good. But anywho, you got to make sure that you go out there and hit the bell so that you can get shows with like Brett Graves and Keep Climbing. I'm not sure Darren
Put it on the baseball, it might help.
That's a snot ball, which is an illegal pitch, by the way. Tons of shows, so you can go see the whole. What do they call it? The whole cast of contributors. There you go. Portfolio for Youth Baseball Midwest. But give them a follow so you can see shows like this.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there, have yourself a fantastic day. And I'm going to use Brian's, you pitchers.
Keep throwing strikes.
And you hitters.
Go ahead. Go ahead and tell them.
Hit it as hard as you can. Down, middle, up.
I like it.
That's all I got. Have a great day.